Welcome back to the Toolkit orientation. We hope your group had a thought-provoking conversation about the importance of developing writing skills for students in grades 2 through 4. Research strongly supports what you've likely observed firsthand. Writing is a fundamental skill required to participate in professional, social, community, and civic activities. Developing strong writing skills at an early age provides students with important learning and communication tools. Elementary school students need more literacy support. Many students were not reading at grade level pre-COVID, and the pandemic further exacerbated the problem. Evidence shows that one way to improve literacy is through writing instruction. Improved writing skills are linked to increased reading levels. So we all agree that writing is important, but now what? Luckily for us, the U.S. Department of Education has an initiative called the What Works Clearinghouse that identifies evidence-based practices, including practices that improve student writing. Across a variety of subject areas, grades, and topics, the What Works Clearinghouse analyzes research on educational interventions to determine whether the research meets its high standard of evidence. Research that meets these standards gets compiled into practice guides to help educators use evidence-based teaching strategies. Almost 30 practice guides are currently available. Each one is based on a systematic review of research, the experiences of practitioners, and expert opinions of a panel of nationally recognized experts. QR codes to the practice guides are on this slide. The practice guide that informs this toolkit is titled Teaching Elementary School Students to be Effective Writers. Within this resource, you'll find 4 evidence-based recommendations with clear and explicit how-to steps for teachers to implement them in their classrooms. The Elementary Writing Practice Guide will serve as a valuable companion resource to the toolkit. As you navigate through the toolkit materials, you'll come across excerpts and convenient links that lead you to the guide. Although the practice guide includes clear recommendations and how-to steps, we know that teachers and leaders cannot simply read about a new practice to master it. Instead, they must engage in active learning by observing the new practice, discussing it, implementing it, receiving feedback on the practice, and continuing to improve. This is where your professional learning community comes in. You'll have the opportunity to independently read about the recommended practices and then engage in reflective dialogue with your peers. You'll develop an implementation plan, put the plan into action, and debrief on your implementation experiences. To support effective implementation of the practice guide recommendations, the toolkit provides a teacher workbook, videos, activities, and self-reflections. The toolkit also includes a facilitator's guide and materials for school leaders to support both toolkit implementation and writing instruction. The practice guide has 4 recommendations, one of which has 2 parts, and covers grades K through 6. The toolkit focuses on 3 of the recommendations and is designed specifically for teachers of students in grades 2 through 4. School leaders interested in implementing the practices in other elementary grades can reference the resource Integrating Writing for K-1 Teachers under School Leader Resources on the Toolkit website. The toolkit focuses on grades 2 through 4 because strategy instruction is highly relevant for these grades, and the research evidence is limited below grade 2. The toolkit primarily focuses on teaching writing strategies and processes, which have the strongest evidence base and enable teachers to focus on a critical aspect of writing instruction. Practice guide panels assign evidence levels for each practice guide recommendation based on their judgment of the quality of the existing research. Recommendation 2 was given the level of strong evidence. This rating refers to consistent evidence that the recommended strategy improves student outcomes for a wide population of students. Recommendations 1 and 4 were given the level of minimal evidence. This rating means that there is not rigorous evidence that demonstrates the practice's positive effect on students' achievement. There are various reasons for this, including that some practices have not been studied or are difficult to study with a rigorous design. According to the practice guide, a recommendation with a minimal evidence rating is not any less important than one with a higher evidence rating. Practice guide recommendations 1 and 4 will be covered during professional learning community sessions for Module 1, which focuses on creating classroom conditions for writing. Recommendation 1 is to provide daily time for students to write, and recommendation 4 is to create an engaged community of writers. Before starting the professional learning community sessions, you will watch a brief video on Module 1 to get acquainted with these recommendations. Recommendations 1 and 4 can be found on pages 10 and 11 and 34 to 39 of the practice guide if you are interested in learning more. They will be covered in more detail during the professional learning community sessions for Module 1. To become effective writers, students need daily opportunities to learn and practice writing skills, strategies, and techniques. Writing practice can be integrated into instruction for other content areas to provide students with additional time to write. Recommendation 4 is to create an engaged community of young writers, one in which they feel safe to participate fully in the writing process. There are 5 how-to steps to implement this recommendation. Teachers should participate as members of the community by writing and sharing their writing. Give students writing choices. Encourage students to collaborate as writers. Provide students with opportunities to give and receive feedback throughout the writing process. Publish students' writing and extend the community beyond the classroom. With these conditions in place, students are ready to learn the writing process. Recommendation 2A will be covered through 4 Module 2 professional learning community sessions. To help students think critically about writing, teachers should focus their writing instruction on teaching students to carry out the writing process effectively and flexibly. Focusing instruction on teaching students to carry out the writing process effectively and flexibly can help them develop critical thinking skills. There are 4 how-to steps to implement this recommendation. Teach students strategies for the various components of the writing process. Gradually release writing responsibility from the teacher to the students. Guide students to select and use appropriate writing strategies. Encourage students to be flexible in their use of the components of the writing process. In Module 2, you will learn how to teach the components of the writing process, including planning, drafting, sharing, evaluating, revising, and editing. Like Module 1, there will be an introductory module video that you will watch before starting the professional learning community sessions. Recommendation 2A can be found on pages 12 to 20 of the practice guide if you are interested in learning more. Module 3 consists of a single session intended to help you sustain the recommendations and practices you learned throughout Modules 1 and 2. In Module 3, you will be encouraged to develop a classroom vision, reflect on any roadblocks encountered, and set goals for your writing instruction. As mentioned earlier, the toolkit also includes self-reflections on your writing instructional practices. The self-reflections help you identify the strengths you already have and areas for growth. You will complete your initial self-reflection today and develop goals for learning that cover all 3 recommendations. After Modules 1 and 2, you will complete in-depth self-reflections covering the content of those modules and discuss goals with a coach or other instructional leader. During Module 3, you will revisit your learning goals and set new ones for sustaining these practices in your classroom. Now that you know how the toolkit was developed and how the toolkit is structured, we encourage you to look through the toolkit materials before moving on to the 3rd and final orientation video. Links to videos are housed on the website. You can download all written materials and save them to your computer or print them out. You may want to start by looking at the syllabus, which is on the home page of the website, for information about each session's goals and activities. When reviewing the syllabus, pay attention to the modules that make up the toolkit, the sessions within each module, and the pre-work and self-reflections associated with each session. After about 10 minutes of reviewing the toolkit website and materials, discuss these questions. Which sessions, activities, or resources seem most relevant to your classroom, your individual students, or to your growth as a writing instructor? What is one thing that excites you about the toolkit recommendations?